Ensuring this big step to be successful is important to the utility, the systems integrator, and of course to SAP. And when three big utilities with three complex landscapes go live over the same weekend, and another one just shortly thereafter, it does warrant special attention from SAP to support the smooth transition. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speakers to address this scenario. We have Stefan Wolf, Global Vice President, Go-to-Market Execution, Industry Business Unit Utility. He is joined by Cesar Futima, VP Premium Engagement Regulated Industry, along with Carlos Pacheco, SAP US and Head of MaxAttention Engagement Lead. I know this session will enable many clients to understand how best to keep on track. And Stefan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, thank you very much for joining the session. And as Michael mentioned, we want to talk to you here about a recent go-lives which we had in the US, where we from the SAP side supported 3 customers at the same weekend and just another one a couple weeks later to safely go live with the end-to-end SAP solution for utilities. So before we go into the details how we have helped to safeguard these go-lives, I wanted to spend a few minutes to introduce to you those utilities we are talking about here, so that you have a bit of a better understanding what we were dealing with here, what the customers were trying to achieve, and what kind of solution portfolio we had at stake here for these go-lives. So let me briefly name them here. So we have SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, which is part of Sempra Energy Utility. And I have slides for each of those, so let me just name them here and group them from the go-live perspective. So SDG&E was one, Southern California Edison, a part of Edison International, also in California, was another one which went live. We also have Duke Energy over on the US East Coast. And these 3 which I just named, they went all live on the same weekend, Easter weekend, actually beginning of April. And the 4th one on this list here, Southwest Gas, that one went live just a few weeks later over the May 1st weekend. So within just a month's time frame, we had these major utilities all go live with a solution. Together, they roughly represent 10% of the United States population being served through electricity and gas from these utilities. So this obviously was not just a support for the customers, of our customers here, the utilities, but also for the people which are affected by these go-lives, to make sure that they have a smooth experience, ideally not noticing at all that the IT systems here at the utilities have changed. So let me briefly talk to you who these utilities are. So first one, San Diego Gas and Electric, obviously serving the San Diego area, but not just the city of San Diego. SDG&E has a very diverse region they are serving, from highly urban areas in San Diego to very rural areas, and to the east of San Diego County you even have deserts out there. So they have pretty much everything in their supply area. They are serving 3.6 million people with 1.5 million electric meters and roughly 900,000 gas meters. So it's a combined utility between electric and gas, serving these customers in southern end of California. Next, just a little bit north of San Diego is Southern California Edison. They are serving the southern part of California with electricity. So 15 million people living in the supply area. They are being served through around about 5 million contracts here for this area. So they have 50,000 square miles of service areas. Again, they're serving in the Los Angeles area as well as in the sparsely populated areas over to the eastern part of California. So again, a large, very diverse area which Southern California Edison is serving here. And you can see the statistics about how many elements they have, miles of transmission lines and so forth. So you see what kind of utility infrastructure they are maintaining. Next is Duke Energy, moving over here to the east coast of on the United States. So Duke Energy is also an electric and gas utility. They are operating in a number of different states out there, with a total of roughly 8 million electric contracts they are serving, as well as around about 1.5 million gas customers they have. So total is around about 9.5 million of contracts what they are supporting in their system. So that is a population of easily over 25 million people which are living in their supply area and businesses as well. And as you can see, this is a multi-state utility in various different regulatory requirements, some with competitively regulated markets, others with regulated vertically integrated markets. So very complex regulatory infrastructure they are serving here, and they are moving their customers in phases into the SAP system. So their Golife was for the first part of their supply area, with more rollouts to come in the next 18 months. Last but not least, we have Southwest Gas, obviously a gas utility operating here in the southwest of the United States, mainly in Arizona, but also serving parts in California and Nevada, headquartered in Las Vegas. Southwest Gas is serving about 2 million customers with their gas operations. So as you can see, it's a very diverse mix of utilities which we had here. And while I understand that we do have also a large go-lives with in other regions, here we had go-lives again, as I mentioned, on the same weekend with very different utilities in very different areas, which were all going live with the same set of solutions. Let me just throw out here the key elements which they went live with. They all had S/4HANA utilities for their meter-to-cash solution. They all were using C4C or Service Cloud for their call center. They all are using our cloud platform integration for the integration for the scenarios, and 3 of the 4 using our self-service accelerator from SEW for their customer portal out there. So just to have here the major building blocks mentioned from the solution portfolio which they took live over those weekends. You can see on the bottom here, it's mostly greenfield implementations coming from legacy systems, for mainframe systems. You can see that for SDG&E, we have here mentioned that they were using ECC before. This was for device management. SDG&E was a utility which early on stepped into the utility solution from SAP by using our device management component only. So they migrated that piece and added all the other meter-to-cash and call center and self-service solutions on top of that component into a new S/4HANA instance, plus the other systems. Talk about the other systems, just to give you a little bit more appreciation about the complexity of the landscape we were safeguarding here. This is an architecture diagram from San Diego Gas and Electric for their Envision project, highlighting the major components of the landscape. So we see here on the right-hand side the big block, which is the S4 instance on-premise, running, of course, meter-to-cash, sitting on top of various different customer-owned systems, there's a meter data management system, weather data, and so forth, to integrate into S4 for the utilities processes. To the left of that, we see the reporting and analytics systems. Again, here you see new SAP Enterprise HANA systems, BW HANA being introduced, working together with the Hadoop infrastructure they have in place. And further to the left, we see the cloud components, SAP Cloud Marketing, SAP Service Cloud and Sales Cloud, what they're using, which is being integrated. On top, you see the various different channels they're communicating through. So this is just to give you a little bit of an overview about that complex landscape which was built over the implementation time frame, and which was of course put into production over those weekends. And as you can imagine, this was not a short-term effort. So in fact, the whole process started about 4 years ago in 2017 with various different investigations, software selection process, regulatory filing out there. And then we went into co-innovation. So in parallel to the implementation, we co-innovated with San Diego Gas and Electric and the other customers on Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and other components to build out the solution portfolio. The eventual implementation project started then in 2018. And as mentioned, April 2021 was a big day for the Golife. So this was a long time in the making, and we definitely wanted to make sure that this goes as smooth as possible. And how we from the SAP side helped there, I hand now over to Cesar to talk about what our MaxAttention team did to safeguard these Go-Lives. Cesar, over to you.
Thanks, Stefan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So my name is Cesar Futima. I'm the Vice President of the MaxAttention Delivery Organization here in the US. So I'm here to talk about how we actually went about getting the entire support organization, right, mobilized to support all this huge impact that we were making in the entire country, right? As just as a quick reminder, we're talking about here a huge engagement, right? There were 3-4 projects here involved, and we impacted around 30 million, more than 30 million people, which represents more than 10% of the US population, right? So it all started actually back in a year before the Golife, and that was like April 2020, right? So that was when this concept of we called a Utility Deployment Council. So that was just a group, a highly collaborative, right, group of individuals, pretty much led by my team, the MaxAttention team, that was leading this effort. Because we started looking into what was the common denominator for all these utilities that were going live, right? So they all had, the MaxAttention, SAP MaxAttention program in place, right? And also there was an ask from the request from the customers also, how can we, as a customer base that was actually they were all doing the same thing, right? They're going to ultimately implement this the large CIS SAP system. How can we collaborate, right, with each other, making sure that we don't reinvent the wheel, right? We are doing the same thing, so we can share lessons learned, right, and just foster a highly collaborative environment across all these 4 utilities. So that took a lot of collaboration, like I said, and a lot of planning efforts, right? So that took, like, starting from an executive engagement and alignment from customers, from partners. And when I talk about partners, I'm talking about not only services partners but software partners as well, right? We're talking about SCW, OpenText, and those software partners, and also an SAP. Collaborating with all these different parties and organizations within SAP, right, to make sure that we're all ready to support this huge engagement. So that was a very important step, right, that we took, and like I said, there was a lot of planning going a year before the actual go live. So before, there were some concerns about the data center and performance of data center that was located initially in Newtown Square, which is our headquarters of SAP for North America. There was some concerns from some of these customers that are based out of the West Coast. So we moved, we actually created another data center on the West Coast to be able to better serve, discuss the customers that were located on the West Coast of the country, right? So that's after the go live, I actually got positive feedback from the customers that actually that was much better performance. So they were happy about it. And then we from a support services and proactive support service to ensure a successful go live, we had a number of MaxAttention services that was put in place throughout the project lifecycle to ensure that we had a successful go live, right? So those are all the proactive services that we build as far as the SAP MaxAttention program, like service plan that we call. There also, as I kind of touched on that, but we also had a huge plan for a lot of support, right, from all these different areas of SAP, and that covered the product development team, cloud operations, the COE, the Center of Excellence, which is pretty much our MaxAttention delivery organization, right? And we also had, in case for reactive support, and in case of a major issue, right, we were ready to engage with the MCS, the Mission Critical Support Team. They were even in standby to be able to provide engage, that's our SWAT team, right? So, but fortunately, we did not even need to engage that team. So here I really wanted to show, right, what's all this huge planning exercise cover, right, and all the parties involved, right, the different organizations and so forth. So, and we also had like a cadence with the customers and partners and different SAP organizations, and we had that cadence was like it started with a monthly basis, right, and then we intensified to a every other week, and then we started going, like when we were closer to go live, we started to run that on a weekly basis, right? So maybe Stefan, if you want to just advance the slide. Yeah, so we also had like several dress rehearsals throughout each one of these projects, right? That kind of culminated with the successful go live for, it started with the Southern California Edison, San Diego Gas Electric, and Duke in early April. And then after that, we ran post go live support. And then we had the go live for Southwest Gas, going live just a month after the three utilities, right? So they went live just a few weeks ago in May, and then we had the post go live support. And maybe you can advance to the next portion. Thanks, Stefan. So basically, we just show it was just zooming in, right? So the days preceding go live. So obviously, everybody knows we have a cutover process in place, right? So and the cutover was very intense in terms of our coverage and proactive coverage. So we had teams supporting all these customers on a 24-hour basis, right? And they were running around the clock throughout different regions in the planet, right? The Americas, APJ, and EMEA. And then we had the post go live support when this customers went live, then we just descaled a little bit, right, from 24-hour to a more 8-hour support coverage to be able to support the ongoing, newly go live systems. So we can move to the next slide. So here, I just wanted to show some information about the more detail, right, how we planned for this. But this was 100% remote because of the pandemic, so there was quite of it required even more coordination and planning, right? And we had all the support organizations that I mentioned earlier from SAP. We, as far as the how is concerned, we really did not want to add more complexity and more work on top of each individual projects they were undertaking already, right? So, the Utility Deployment Council was pretty much a layer, a governance layer above and beyond that. In case of more issues that they couldn't resolve at the project level, that they would escalate to us, and we would invoke the appropriate support organization, SAP, and make sure that we quickly resolve those issues during cutover, because we really cannot delay any of those activities, right? Next slide, please. Thanks, Stefan. So here we can see how we stood up the plan in more detail, right? So we had what we call technical quality managers, which represents pretty much the front office team for MaxAttention. It stays in close contact with our customers. And as you can see, we had 3 shifts covering all the regions, with all the regions covering all the 24-hour cycle. We had all these different areas of SAP, right? But for the MaxAttention side, we had all these different functional areas and experts, right, covering all this proactively monitoring the systems and covering all these issues that they could come up, including cloud operations and even product support and product development, also engaged and ready to jump in case of any issues. So that's kind of what I wanted to show. And now I'll hand over to Carlos. He's going to cover some of the lessons learned out of this process.
Yeah, thank you, Cesar, and thank you, Stefan. So as introduced by Michael, at the very first beginning of the session, my name is Carlos Pacheco. My role was part of the Envision CIS project, was the engagement lead for the MaxAttention program, which is basically the main point of contact, like the SAP phase to Sempra for the MaxAttention related topics, which we call front office, as Cesar just mentioned. So basically our responsibility as part of this integrated team and the project was basically to manage all Sempra requirements during all the different project phases. So we really try to translate such support needs to a tangible services delivery, looking into MaxAttention portfolio and services. So in the next 3 slides, I'll try to cover our perspective about the lessons learned, challenge, pitfalls, best practices that we collected during this journey, and how MaxAttention really positioned and helped during this journey. So this very first slide, it's about the logistics and communication. So between the different teams, this was definitely a key success factor. 2 weeks before the cutover, we set up a main technical bridge and also a PMO and management bridge as well, with all involved parties from SAP, Sempra, SI, and all other vendors engaged. So we did all the diligence with the MS teams by testing the access, changing the settings to allow participants to bypass the lobby, so on and so forth. From SAP perspective, as Cesar just mentioned before, during the 5 days, complete 5 days, which was the cutover plus go live period, we had a 24/7 support coverage with the different shifts and time zones, America, Europe, and Asia. So a lot of people involved. Proper handover calls and templates were established between SAP, SME, MaxAttention team members for all the different shifts. And actually, the PMO team from Sempra also created a comprehensive distribution list and used to share the status every 4 hours with a brief description about the activities, action items in case of any issues, risks, or delays in the activities, and also a nice, very nice visual reporting with the traffic lights for each one of the cutover steps performed. So the collaboration and transparency with the change management as well was a key here. Talking about the data loading, just a couple of highlights that we capture here. Of course, understand the data mapping, hierarchy between and the data dependency of the load data in the right sequence, respecting master data validation, transactional data. Of course, that was a very important part of the data consistency. Another very important topic was regarding to the dress rehearsal. Actually, we ran 4 different cycles of dress rehearsals in Sempra as a kind of simulation during the test phase. That actually requires a lot of efforts, data preparation, planning, but definitely worth, especially when you're talking about hybrid scenarios with C4C, the alignment with SAP, customer, SI, SAP cloud operations was also a key topic in order to proper sizing, performance tuning during the data loads. So we keep adjusting the plan and improve and tune the plan as we progress into the different dress rehearsal cycles. This was actually not only about IT and technical activities, but also helped the change management from Sempra side. Talking about the hybrid scenarios and cloud operations, actually another very important topic, the validation of volume and stress tests. Actually, I'm going to cover this topic in the next slide, but coordination as well with the SAP cloud operations team and planned maintenance windows, expected downtime, so on and so forth, was one of the highlights as part of the lessons learned as well. So Stefan, can you kindly move to the next slide? Thank you. We included here a couple of like a Sempra's core business process. I'm quite sure that those are regular topics and you guys are pretty familiar with this with other utilities. So we really try to understand the core business process about top 6, top 8, and really work very, very close to identify the frequency, how many concurrent users, the volume during the storm scenario or peak stress tests. So we have a clear expectation on the KPIs and how to map into the different time windows. So in the particular scenario of Sempra, as Stefan just mentioned, that was a very complex landscape. So we're talking about data loads between S4HANA and C4C, C4C and marketing, S4HANA and marketing. So we really try to capture the object, like a business partner or business partner relationship, contract account, technical master data, the search system, the target system, estimate the number of records and replication method in order to have this map really end to end. Stefan, can you kindly move to the next slide? Thank you. How exactly we engage and what about the methodology that we use to really safeguard this project? As part of the MaxAttention portfolio, we have what we call integration validation. It's a kind of end-to-end coverage for the core business process, and it really try to focus on this 5 work streams or 5 main areas, which we call data management, exception management, integration in queues, performance scalability, and job processing. So this is a kind of methodology that we use. Of course, we have a lot of tools in order to deliver that. So we really try to make sure that all exception handling, it's for the critical interface, it's correctly captured. Database parameters and NQ are okay. The parallelization of the jobs are really optimal, so on and so forth. So in order to do that, we have the different tools and mechanisms behind each of those areas. Traditional traces or CDC, which we call cross database comparison, so on and so forth. So this is the methodology, and this is the way that all the different MaxAttention experts were engaged on the very same page in order to cover this process in a kind of end-to-end. Okay. So I think this is pretty much what we had to present, almost in the top of the hour. So just try to really focus on this particular safeguarding approach, the IV integration validation. But of course, depending on the customer requirements, project demands, and MaxAttention have a very comprehensive service portfolio in the different areas. So not only focus on implementation, but also operations, innovations, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think this slide is just about the closing remarks. So I can maybe hand over to you, Cesar or Stefan, just for the final key takeaways. Thank you.
Yeah, basically we just, I think one of the key success factors here, right? So we really wanted to make sure that the early planning is there, right? So that's of extreme importance. And we had a collaboration across all parties, you know, in SAP customers and the SIs, the product teams, and the product partners as well. So that was great. It worked very well. You know, that eventually led to this successful go live. And you know, if anyone wants additional information, you can contact anyone on this presentation here or your SAP account team.
Thank you very much there, Carlos and Cesar and Stefan. We have a few questions in the last minute that we'll try and cram in. I'll ask you to keep your answers concise. Do you have to purchase the whole Go Live support as described, or can you pick and choose? Who'd like to pick that one up?
I can talk about this. Carlos can chime in as needed. But basically, what we do here is we, as part of the MaxAttention program, we stand up we have a service plan that we put in place based upon the project life cycle and the schedule. The service plan is very comprehensive, right? But the customer also has the flexibility to pick and choose different business processes that are critical for their businesses, right? That they cannot stop, they may stop the business and create major problems. If one wants to kind of select some of this, the scope of work can be decreased, so it can be more cost effective to the customer. So we have that flexibility.
And another question just come in. Please, could you highlight the difference between your custom device management solution and the standard device management?
Maybe I take a crack on that one. Not quite sure I I understand what the custom device management solution is. What the customers here implemented is really our ISU, our industry solution, which includes the device management sitting on the, of course, the SAP asset management functionality with equipments, functional locations, and so forth. But as we all know, each utility is unique between gas, electricity, regulatory requirements. You have to build your regulatory processes on top of that. So here we worked with a system integrator and helped them to build out these unique specific processes on top of the standard solution. I'm not quite sure if this answers the question. If there's any follow-up, please feel free to reach out.
Not as yet, but as we're running short of time, perhaps we can come back to that. Another question that we've got left: what, if any, services do you provide once I am live?
Hey, Cesar, if you don't mind, I can take that. Yeah, as you mentioned, even not only for during the project phase, but also for the operations, we have one particular work stream in the MaxAttention that we call T2O, which is a transition to operations. So services related particular to the solution manager as business process monitoring or technical monitoring, application monitoring, DB, memory, so on and so forth. This is something that we can also deliver after the go live. That was one particular scenario for Sempra in particular, by the way, which we really deliver what you call performance analysis and performance improvement once we are live. So we really reproduce 100% the real life with all users connected, all the volumes, so on and so forth. So yes, even after the go live, we have a comprehensive portfolio for the operations as well.
Okay, thank you, Stefan, Cesar, Carlos. A lot of very, very advantageous insight information. And ladies and gentlemen, that now completes our last keynote of our second day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in our virtual event and maximize your learning and engagement opportunities through the platform tools available to you.